Hello and welcome to the third in this series of instructional videos all about building reports using Westbury's SMI Suite. Last time we covered the accountable versus non-accountable reports, and this time I'm going to show you how you can build levels of complexity in your reports. Now imagine this scenario. You are the CIO of a big important company with a large help desk department, and it's coming up to year end, so you need to decide which of your help desk work group managers deserves a big fat bonus check and which one deserves a subscription to Jelly of the Month Club. Okay, well, you think that's pretty easy, so let's dive straight in and build the report that's going to show you the work group performance. Okay, so we're just going to grab the assignment group name. By the way, in the first video I showed you how to drag and drop these objects across the results objects pane. You may have figured out already you can just double click them, which makes that a bit quicker and easier. So we've got the assignment group name and we've got the hours between open and close date, which is going to give our call duration for our work groups. So I'm going to add that one in. Another quick aside, if you are a bit of a SQL geek, then you can see what's going on in the back end here. This is really easy from a user point of view. You just drag and drop these objects, but that's what you'd have to be doing in terms of creating a SQL query, so pretty nasty. If this sort of stuff does it for you, by the way, I have launched a new website, www.barelylegalsqlqueries.com. It's a premium pay site, it's $40 a month, but it's worth it, I promise you. Anyway, you lucky people don't have to use any of this nonsense. You can just use the drag and drop with the objects, and you can run that query and return your report hopefully pretty quickly. There we go, there's our data in our table, and I'm just going to go and grab a vertical group bar chart and drop it on top of there so we can see it in a graphical format. There we go, so we know which work group is taking the longest to close out their calls and which one is taking the least amount of time to close out their calls, and looks like old Frank, who runs the telecoms work group, is going to get the big fat check because his group is closing calls quickest, and Judy, who runs the service desk, is going to be enjoying some fine fruit-based preserves for the next year. However, this information would be fine if we knew for certain that each group was dealing with exactly the same number of calls in any given period, and chances are they're actually not. So what we actually want to look at is an average call duration. So to do that, we need to hit Edit Query and bring in the number of incidents object. And what that will allow us to do is to create a new variable which will show us the average call duration. Now, I covered variables quite extensively in the last video. If you're not familiar with them, if you didn't see the video, then a variable is a way of calculating based on the data that your query has returned. So our query has returned the hours between open and close date and the number of incidents. So what we can do is create an average call duration and make that sum of the hours between open and close date divided by a sum of the number of incidents. And there we go. There is our new variable, and if I just highlight the chart, go into view structure, and I can replace the hours between open and close date with our new average call duration. Now remember, last time we looked, Frank was doing really well, Judy was doing not so well. Let's have a look how the picture has changed. Well, on an average call duration, it turns out Frank's group telecoms are rubbish. They've got by far the longest average call duration, and Judy is doing much better, but actually the winner here is Barry over in software. So, the picture has completely changed. Now our big fat bonus check is going to Barry, and it's actually Frank who's getting the Jelly subscription. So we've added a layer of complexity there, but there are more steps yet to come. So we know the average call duration, but if you were paying attention to video 2, you'll know that what we actually care about is the accountable time. So it may be that Frank's group is taking the longest to close their calls, but actually they're not accountable for most of that time because they're waiting on information from the customer, or any other number of reasons where they can't be getting on with closing that call because they're waiting for something else. That time is non-accountable to that. Okay, so we want to bring in an average accountable time object. So the way we do that, if I click Edit Query, I'm going to bring in the where are we? Just go through a few folders here. I'm going to bring the total accountable time in hours object, rerun my query, and I'm going to create another variable, which is going to be our average accountable time. And that's going to be similar to last time. That's going to be sum of the total accountable time in hours divided by a sum of the number of incidents. There we go, there is our average accountable time. And again, I can just click on the graph, go into view structure and add that in. And rather than replace the average call duration, I want to show both, so I'm going to drop that in just below it. I'm going to do view results. And I'm just going to add in a legend so we know what we're talking about. Get rid of this 3D look because I don't like it. And I can just space that out. So we see that the orange bar represents the average accountable time and the blue bar represents the average call duration. So Frank was looking really bad last time round, and actually he's still looking pretty bad because his accountable time is still the highest. But last time we said Barry in software was doing the best, and actually according to the accountable time he's doing second worst. And actually it sold Jesus over in LAN support who is doing the best because his accountable time is the lowest.